Testing, 1, 2, testing. Good morning. Thanks for coming. Okay, before we get started, I'd like to introduce my colleague Luke Connor, Senior Software Developer, and I'm Rick Freeman, Chief Operations Officer over at UVN TV. And we're going to talk about our LAMP site that we've developed.
We lured you here with the promise of DJ Pooh, but sadly he wasn't able to make it, so you're stuck with us this morning.
Okay, so UVN TV. What is UVN TV? UVN TV is community broadband internet television, which is basically a social community nested inside of a community broadband internet website. And I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with the aspects of social community and whatnot. LAMP is Linux, Apache, MySQL with PHP, and of course there's a considerable amount of HTML that goes into that as well. We already mentioned social community. You're familiar with people, MySpace and whatnot. It's kind of like beefed up MySpace with the television aspect nested inside of it. And people can go and communicate and socialize with their friends and whatnot. But what's unique about our site is that our channels are fully programmable and real-time based, which allows our members to view our content based on their current time, which correlates to our channel guide, which is fully programmable and in sync with the back end. And it was developed to give our users the real TV, or to stimulate the real TV experience is what we're trying to achieve with this.
Better TV experience.
Plug and play technology, and what that is the underlying technology that we developed for this RCDN, so to speak, offers our channel partners like The Source, for example, the ability to maintain a viral presence by being able to take UVN TV with them or on their own websites with widgets via MySpace or whatnot. This is an example of thesource.com or The Source magazine. This is the website that we're kind of like developing for them, and we're plugging our technology into their website. If you're logged on to UVN TV, you're logged on to The Source as well.
We're going to go much more in depth into all of this afterwards. Right now we're giving you a brief overview of what we got, and then we'll get into some more specifics about the technology and how we're working on it.
This is an example of DJ Pooh's MySpace page with one of those widgets I spoke about, nested into his MySpace page. We'll show you an example of that as well. Silverlight over Flash. Why did we choose Silverlight over Flash? Well, initially we had developed a Flash player. We spent a lot of time on development in it. It worked for the most part, but we did have some hurdles that we were trying to get over, as you all know, when developing with Flash. But I was able to get some relatively or fairly decent quality using the onto compression with Flash, but I couldn't get the optimal bit rate and was not able to get the files to stream at full screen without glitching. So that was one of the driving points which forced us or helped us move over to Silverlight. In addition to that, as you know, the cost of streaming can be quite expensive. So by using Windows Media 9 Advanced and or VC1, we were able to achieve better results with an optimal bit rate and reduced delivery costs. Minimal scripting, with relatively minimal scripting, we were able to swap out the Flash player and implement the Silverlight player literally within, what would you say?
A week.
Quality in business, we choose quality over business. We prefer to stream the files at a higher quality, at the higher bit rates. If you don't, our motto is, if you don't have the bandwidth, go get it. Cross-browser compatibility. Approaching the development of this site from an industry or entertainment industry standpoint, the problem we had in trying to garner relationships or get content deals, the problem we had is most of the executives' offices that we would walk into, they had a Mac sitting on their desk. And that was like the deal killer, because the other solution that we had before, prior to Flash, it just wouldn't stream on a Mac. So with Silverlight coming and enabling us to bridge the gap between being on both platforms, that really helped out a lot. And now we're doing a lot better on garnering relationships and closing deals. Another major factor was the support that we've been able to get from the technical staff over at Microsoft. It's good to be able to pick up the phone or ping guys like Mike or Charles and get help with development issues and how to go about implementing the workflow with the tools that Microsoft has to offer. For the future, we're only beginning to scratch the surface of what can be done with Silverlight, and with the demos that I've seen from the Olympics and whatnot, from the keynote, I'm just like totally blown away. I know we have a lot of work to do, so we're going to get to it. And we're only beginning to scratch the surface of what we can do, and 2.0, I'm very excited about what we'll be able to do. So right now I'm going to pass it over to Luke if you guys want to talk about or ask some technical questions about the hurdles that we had to jump through to get the site to this point. I'm just going to pass it over to him. And,
at any time, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to start back at the beginning again. Originally, when the site first started, a little over a year ago when we started development on it, we initially went with a Windows Media-based player. And it was running a Windows Media player with a third-party, can you switch it over to, with a third-party streaming software that allowed us to get a much better quality video. Like you said, you walk into an executive's office and they have a Mac sitting on their desk and they can't view the site, then it was pretty much a deal killer. From there, we moved over to Flash. One of the main problems that we had with Flash was it couldn't really handle what we were trying to do. I'm going to give you a demonstration of our TV page here. If you go to the TV page, we have a mixture of DHTML and some Ajax and Silverlight all working in sync to produce our TV viewing experience. You can see this is the video quality that we're getting out of Silverlight at the moment. We were never able to achieve this type of video quality using Flash. As well, Silverlight handled the concept that we were trying to go with, the streaming live TV. The way our system works, when you log into the website, if a show starts at 8 o'clock and you log in at 8:05, we actually jump you to the point of the content that you would be doing that on. As well as that, we also we customize the content that you're viewing to your time zone. So if you log in California at 6:02, you would see what's playing at 6:02. The same person who logs in from New York, he's seeing what's playing at 6:09. So not only are we grabbing where you are and what time it is for you, you're also seeing real-time feeds. So if we say that something is going to be happening at 6 o'clock, log in at 6 o'clock, it's going to be there. As well, we are going to be doing live events.
Part of the plan.
And with our live events, which is our first one is next week, we are going to be doing from 2 weeks, I think, from South by Southwest, we're going to be doing a live concert with Ice Cube at South by Southwest. So we'll be filming that live at South by Southwest, streaming it straight through the website, so users will be able to log in, go to our events page, view a live concert from Ice Cube right from South by Southwest. So anywhere in the world that you are, you can go in and see his concert live from the internet. And so this will just be the first. This is just scratching the surface again, like you said, of what Silverlight can do. If you take a look at, go back over to the TV page. I'm going to give you some examples of what we have going on here. With what we created with our version 1 is a mixture of Silverlight and Ajax to produce our results. So you can go to the channel guide, and you can see what channels we have, what's playing, what time they start, what time they end. So you know when you want to log in,
sends it all back.
what you want to see playing.
It's gotten really hot out the last couple hours.
You can go over to
right in the tracks. It's pretty heavy in the tracks.
See what you can get more information.
Got this,
in addition, with Silverlight, our version 1.0 was in addition, our version 1.0, or our first edition of the television player was produced with 1.0. So at the time that we made it, the 1.1 had just been released and we hadn't moved over to it yet. So we actually have a lot of functionality built right in using JavaScript. For instance, I can turn the volume down on the TV just by using my arrow keys, my up and down arrow keys. I can turn the volume up and down. As well as that functionality, I can change channels just by using my arrow keys. So I want to flip through the channels. I can see this is our user-generated content, switch over to HNet TV. And you can see the load times that we're getting here. It's basically within 2 to 3 seconds through the Silverlight player, you're streaming DVD quality television. So again, you see we have no page refreshes. We've never left this page, and yet I can switch through all my content. I can jump through the channels. I can view whatever's on TV. In addition to our regular television, we're going to have on-demand content. So you watch your favorite show. It comes on at 4 on Mondays. Well, Tuesday it hits the on-demand content, so you can go back and watch and see what you missed at any point. We have some of our on-demand content here. And what you're going to be seeing is
get a puppy. Something about that pig.
You're going to be seeing a lot more content on here in the future. For instance, I think I can say this. We just closed the deal with Stars. So very soon you're going to see Stars Entertainment or Stars Television broadcasting through this website. Again, in real time. So you're watching. So it's basically reproducing the television experience, but wrapping a social network around it. So what our version 2 of the player, you're going to be able to tag content. So you're going through the guide. I want to watch this. I want to watch that. You tag yourself a reminder. Whenever you're on the site, your show's about to come on. You get a little reminder popping up saying, "Hey, your show's about to start," and so you'll be able to go to it. As well, you'll be able to connect with other users who have the same interests. This being an entertainment site, we're going to have all sorts of different users. When users sign up, they tell us about themselves. I'm a model, I'm an actress, I'm a musician, I'm in film and TV. And what this does is this gives them extra functionality on their website. So let's go and take a look at somebody's, let's go ahead and take a look at DJ Pooh's profile page. Now when he signed up as an actor and a musician. So what you're seeing here is another Silverlight player. That's DJ Pooh right now. What you're seeing is another version of the Silverlight player customized to his content. So this same player will rotate through being a slideshow for a slideshow for actors and models. It'll slide between playing video as well. I can rate the content right through the player using an Ajax, using seamless Ajax calls that Silverlight handles seamlessly. We can rate the content. I can interact with any portion of the page, so I can share this with my friends. Anything I want to do, we've basically combined the player into the website so that there's a seamless transition. Anything on the web page can interact with the player, and the player can interact with anything on the web page. Some of the hurdles that we've had to go over, it's been very helpful to be able to get such good responses from the Microsoft team, especially Michael. He's come out a couple times to look at what we were doing and to give us assistance. And really, we're really happy with the product that they've produced. Flash kind of evolved into what it is, and because it evolved that way, it started with a piece, and something grew on top of it, and something grew on top of it, and something grew on top of it. Whereas what you're seeing here is right from the start, it was developed with developers in mind. It was developed with the kind of content and streaming that we're doing. So because of the back-end framework, that's what really allowed us to seamlessly integrate with the website, so that all the functionality happens. You don't really know where the Silverlight starts and where the web page ends. You know, just looking at it, you couldn't tell. This right here is HollywoodNet. Now what we're doing here is, this is actually a channel owned by a separate user. So they've embedded our content into their page, and so they have a channel on our site, as well as they can produce their own, have all their own stuff running. Do you want to show them the source? The Source magazine is another one of our premier partners that's come on board. You'll be able to see The Source has catalogs and catalogs and catalogs of content, as well as we're signing on major content producers currently on the channel, on the page. If you go there, you'll see some of the upcoming channels. P. Diddy has a channel. Ice Cube obviously has a channel. We're in talks with other people that are in the middle of it. But what you're going to see is you're going to see, and what we've seen from this is people flocking to the technology. So they see what we're doing with the Silverlight media. And it's funny because 6 months ago, when we were trying to do the same thing with Flash, we would call them and they would, they'd look at it, we're not really sure, we're not, We debuted our Silverlight player and our Silverlight technology. Suddenly they start calling us back. Hey, where were we in our conversation? And usually it was, well, I think we were about the part where you quit returning our phone calls. So now they're coming back, seeing what we've been able to do, seeing the video that you've been able to produce. I mean, imagine streaming this to your television at home. Pooh's got a big 60-inch plasma TV in his house, and so he'll regularly just stream this right to his plasma television. Just throw it up in full screen. And anybody who comes over, you can't tell the difference in what he's watching. You couldn't distinguish the fact that he was streaming video over the internet to his television from any other channel. Can you,
What's that now?
let's go
Where you want me to go?
to browse.
Hi, what bit rate are you?
What bit rate? My optimal bit rate is I like to stream around 1 megabit. I'm just trying to maintain our streams around 1 megabit because I just don't like how the quality looks when you start dropping it down anything below that. So I try to keep it there. That's what I was saying earlier about if you don't have the bandwidth, go get it. You know, a lot of times or sometimes people, they have lower bandwidth in their area and then they go to stream the site and it's not, they're getting a slideshow. It's, you know, but my thing is I don't like to stream at the lower bit rate, so I'm trying to force people to beef up their accounts, which is probably good for the ISPs.
Can you guys talk about how you do how you work with the playlists and the ASX?
Sure. Without giving too much away, essentially what we're doing on the back end is when you go to the TV page, it will make a determination about where you're located and what time it is where you're at. So the page will make a call back to the server, gather up all of the content that should be playing right then, and it will on the fly generate our playlist for us. So when the Silverlight player loads, and all this, all this happens in a split second. The page loads, we make the call back to the server, generate the playlist, and when it comes back, it loads the player, and the player calls up that playlist that we just created. And then as soon as that playlist is passed to the player, it no longer exists. So everything happens, you see a lot of the demonstrations with Blend and with Expression Encoder with how you can combine everything and package it all up and export it in a complete package. But what we've actually done here and what we're doing here is we're recreating that, but without packaging it together. These exist as nothing more than a clip on a server and entries in the database. So when he says you can program this, the channel content owners have complete control over their channels. They load clips in there and they create shows from those clips and they drop them on the timeline. So everything is controlled by them. They can make changes however they want, and the way it's set up on the back end, it will just generate everything on the fly, and nothing is preset. So you can actually recreate all this stuff. The next version of the player will also have overlay slide outs that are going to correspond with what's playing. Maybe you're watching a Ford commercial in between one of the contents. Dynamically, we will generate. We're actually passing the meta information through the playlist, and dynamically it creates that overlay, slides it out at the appropriate time, sends it back at the appropriate time, and that's completely linkable with whatever content owner owns that particular clip. We're in the works with, we signed a distribution deal with Damon Dash. He was the creator, I guess, of, was it Death Row Records?
No, not Death Row, Rockefeller.
Rockefeller Records. So he has all this content. He has his own site, and he was using a television streaming thing built in Flash. And so when he saw what we were doing, he basically said, well, I got to throw this garbage out. And we're actually now going to be streaming to his site, but his whole site is built around selling digital content. So everything that plays on his channel is related to stuff you can purchase on the website. So every one of his clips will have overlays or little bugs or various things that the user can interact with, and immediately purchase or immediately go out and grab that or get information. So you have with the Silverlight, we can bring in a complete interaction with the end user, and these are the sources of revenue and the additional opportunities that the TV stations are just clamoring for, that they can't figure out how to do. You hear a lot of talk about interactive television and where they want to go with it. Well, we're already going there. And with the Silverlight technology, we're hoping to leapfrog ahead of what they're all trying to do and get there before anybody else. And that's the amazing thing about the Silverlight and what it allows you to do.
Any questions?
He's going.
Yeah, so you talked about selling content, and currently Silverlight, there's no DRM built in. Is that a concern for you as an artist? Is it not an issue? Do you think Microsoft should even waste their time adding it? Talk about that a little bit.
There's several ways that we've thought about addressing that. Right now, our first way to address that was the fact that the playlist itself only exists for the split second that Silverlight makes the call to download that playlist. So if anybody else were to try to go to the URL, if somebody did a view source, looked at where the playlist location was, if they dug through the code to look through where the playlist was, and they went to there, that playlist doesn't exist. It's just a blank page. It only exists for the split second. Now that'll deter 95% of the people out there. Now for the other people out there, there's tools that you can look at and you can see everything being passed. So what we're doing with that is we're transitioning to temporary URLs for the clips themselves. So a URL that only exists for a short period of time. So it's somewhat security through obscurity. We are looking at DRM solutions, but everything we're doing, we're not doing any progressive downloading here. Everything is streaming straight from the server. So there are things we'd like to do better, but we've been able to. But again, with the DRM thing, it's a changing situation constantly. We actually have and I don't want to say who, but we are actually in the works with securing content from a major movie studio. Pretty soon you're going to have pay-to-play content on the website as well as on demand. So a week after Batman comes out on video, or whatever movies come out, a week after they're out on video, you'll be able to go to the channel, rent that movie, and stream it over your computer. So as much as the DRM is a concern, it's a changing situation. So we've been able to satisfy them that enough security is in place that they're going to allow us to use their whole backlog of video and movie content. So.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about like the developer workflow stuff? Like you said, you were using Visual Studio and Expression for the Silverlight side. Like, how are you integrating that with the PHP part of the actual website? And is it like separate people doing it, or how does that work?
I am the sole developer for this website, so no separate people. We do have a designer, and Rick is our total media person. Everything you want to know about our media, how it's working, how it's flowing through there. Rick's really been the brain behind getting the media to the ideal solution. And we have a designer who's really come through. This website has seen 5 different facelifts in the last year. And so as far as the developer workflow, our designer will use Expression to create the player itself. As far as the look and feel of it, he'll go back and forth between Expression as well as just straight Photoshop, and he can because because we can use just about any media in there, he can pass me stuff from Expression, he can pass me images, he can pass me digital content, and from there, I'll get into Expression a little bit to create some of our animations, but from there I'll switch over to Visual Studio and program all of our content. Like I said, we're running on the 1.0 version, so this is all in JavaScript. So I'm able to switch back and forth between Visual Studio over to the Zend developer platform, and I can basically jump back and forth as needed. If I want the IntelliSense and if I want a little more tools at my disposal, I'll work on the Visual Studio. If I don't need that and I want to do more site integration, then I'll jump back over to the Zend platform, and I can interact with it in both areas fairly seamlessly. I lose my IntelliSense, so I'll do all that on the Visual Studio. But once I jump over to the Zend, I can do the site integration. I've created all of my logic in Visual Studio, and then I just plug into it from the Zend platform.
Could you talk a little bit about what I think are the equivalent questions about deployment? I mean, I presume that up to a point you're using Microsoft tools to package up the Silverlight-oriented parts of the content, and sooner or later, my impression is you're deploying them on Linux servers. Is that as simple as just copying over ZAP files, or?
Surprisingly, it is. We've had really no deployment issues other than changing who we were streaming our content through. All of the content is streamed through Limelight on Windows Media servers. So we're streaming that through MMS and all the Microsoft streaming technology, and the website itself is completely hosted on Linux.
Yeah, essentially the bulk of the work was re-encoding what you had, your library, over to the Windows Media 9 format.
Right, but for the HTML and the Silverlight as opposed to the media itself, you're just packaging up ZAP files and copying them to directories on Apache servers?
It's all just XAML files and JavaScript. Obviously, the next version will be using the 2.0 platform, and we'll transition over into C#, and which will give us a lot more programmability, a lot more stuff that can happen, and a lot more interaction that we'll have inside the player. Right now, if you look at the television, the player itself is Silverlight. As soon as you jump into the guide, as soon as you jump into the on-demand or the pay-to-play, you're looking at HTML, JavaScript, Ajax is all producing this. And then the player itself is the Silverlight. When we go to the 2.0 version, all of this stuff will be wrapped inside of Silverlight. So at that point, we'll compile it, and then, like you said, it's just a matter of copying it onto the Linux server and calling up the Silverlight when the page loads. So there's the deployment and the interaction between the two is very seamless.
Any other questions?
Would you be able to talk a little bit about the revenue model? Is it through advertising, and if it is, how do you report that? And also with content, how do you report back how many views there have been of certain producers' content?
Sure. Our revenue model is varied depending on who the end user is. Not the end user, but who the content owner is. We're very aware of the entry level point. There's no middle ground right now. You have kind of garbage quality video, I say, not content, but you have kind of, and some content. You have kind of the garbage quality on YouTube, and you have the mainstream, ABC and all of them streaming their content. And there's no it's a very difficult entry level for a content owner. So what you just saw a second ago playing was actually a video that these guys made. They were down in where were they down? In Atlantic City, I believe. They caught a guy, or they saw a guy who just won $1.3 million jackpot. And so they followed him around for the next year and filmed him. They went to MTV with this content, and MTV, offered him a paltry sum and, kind of shoot him out the door because of the gap between the entry level. So what one of our audiences for content are these people that are producing quality content but have no avenue to get it out there, have no distribution model. So we may work with some lower level, I shouldn't really call them lower level, but maybe
smaller production companies.
Smaller production companies who don't have these contacts, who don't have this money, where we can bring them in solely with content and do a revenue sharing with them. As on the other end of it, someone like Damon Dash, who's got tons of money and doesn't know what to do with it, we'll sell him a whole channel. And he'll produce enough content to where he can supply a whole channel. Now, he may own all of the advertising on that channel, and we'll just take a small percentage of that and what it costs to run it. But the smaller production company, we want to allow them to come in. So if you have content, or if you want to own a whole channel, we have a wide range. Our business model is from top to bottom. We want to be able to allow anybody to get content on.
Right.
And in fact, I just hit up Kevin Rose trying to get his Revision 3 content on here. So maybe if you guys want to send him an email and say, hey, you should get your content on UVN TV. So we want to. It obviously varies between who the content owners is, and we're trying to customize our revenue model to them. But essentially, it's about advertising. When you're watching the stream, you'll see some regular commercials, but in addition to that, you'll see overlays. You'll see some interaction to where they can go and purchase stuff, or they can go and get more information. But it comes down to a revenue model based around advertisement.
Any other questions? Is there anything else you want to cover? This is just an example of how we program the back end. We can basically go through and pick, these are basically channels that we have set up in the back end. And you could
I have to
go
give a
through
little
and
disclaimer first.
add clips.
This is why you don't let developers design. Since this was on the back end, I put this together. Our designer had nothing to do with this, so I claim full responsibility for the way this looks.
It's okay. It's always work in progress.
It works, I don't claim to make it pretty, just functional. So, but this is our TV admin section. You can see a channel owner. He'll go in. He adds his clips. He has complete freedom to do whatever he wants with his content. He can add his clips. Then he takes his clips and he combines them into shows, and the shows are what you see on the channel guide. So what this allows us to do is take pieces of content and create blocks of shows on the fly. So he'll go in here and, maybe he's got a weekly show with videos or with various items, and he wants to make a best of. Now he can take the pieces that he likes, combine them together, repackage that content into a new show. He places it on the guide here, and you can see this guide allows them to program throughout the day what they want to play and when they want it to play. So by taking this approach, we've allowed the content owner complete freedom to do whatever they want with the content. So maybe they want to change up. Maybe one show is sponsored by Ford, and the next time they play it, it's sponsored by Nike. So they can actually repackage that content, put new commercials into it, and like I said, the next version will have overlays. So they'll have complete control over the clip to put as many overlays at specific intervals that they want. You know, maybe you have a show and the show is sponsored by somebody, so every time you see a Pepsi can on the counter, an overlay pops up. So the content owner will have complete freedom to say, okay, this Pepsi can pops up at 2 minutes and 3 seconds. So I want my overlay to pop up at 2 minutes and 3 seconds and go away after 5 seconds. So they have, and then all of this stuff, none of it's prepackaged. So we pass the metadata to the player, and the logic within the player puts everything together, passes the overlays, and through Silverlight itself, it's smart enough to know, okay, I want to put this player up here, I want to put this overlay up now as well, that this overlay links to this content, this overlay produces this content here has additional information when you do a mouse over. So completely, through a complete dynamic generation of the playlist, we can pass whatever metadata we want to it, and basically they have the freedom to do anything they want with any of their content.
All right, so any other questions?
One other thing that I did want to touch on, one of the other reasons that we went from Flash to Silverlight, in addition to the better quality, we were actually the same level of quality clip that you're seeing here. We would try to play it through Flash, and we would have interlace problems, buffering problems, all kinds of problems.
Major buffering problems.
Major buffering problems. Stuff would start and stop, and we had no control over it. In addition, Flash doesn't understand the concept of a playlist, so what we were actually having to do is when the clip, we would have to know when the clip was ending, start buffering the next piece of media so we could pass it up. Whereas this, we can pass it 4 hours of content in a playlist, and it handles all of the buffering, all of the feed all on its own. So we pass it the playlist, we pass it the metadata, we tell it what to do when it reads certain pieces of metadata in regards to overlays or anything else, but Silverlight does the rest for us. It's very the version 1.0 obviously was very media centric, and that's actually why we started with Windows Media Player in the first place, was the ease with which we could use it. We were actually getting very good quality content through Windows Media Player, but you had the problem of other operating systems not being able to handle the content.
Cross-browser compatibility.
Right.
And
So when we moved over to Silverlight, we now have that cross-browser, cross-platform compatibility with the same quality content that we were getting before through this. And we're using one other item that we're doing on the back end. Obviously, Silverlight plays certain media types. So we have a process that sits on our Windows server that when channel owners, we also have a user-generated content channel. So basically, and that goes back to the entry point, any user can go and film something, upload it to us, and if it's good quality content, we'll put it up on the user-generated channel, and there's a revenue stream for them. It's a revenue stream and an entry point for smaller production companies where they have no outlet right now, except for maybe setting up their own website, putting up a little Flash media player, and that's what you're seeing right now, smaller production companies. And so I think what you're going to see from this, and obviously we hope to be the first, we hope to be the best, but what you're going to see from this is the entry point for media that used to be here come down to here. You know, you're gonna see the proliferation of user content everywhere, I believe, and I believe that Silverlight really is what's gonna bridge that gap between the two. I'm sorry, I went off track there. What we're doing is when a user uploads content, we obviously don't know what that content is, don't know what format it is, and currently we're using a software called Temp Encoder, and once the Expression Encoder 2 comes out, we're going to switch over to that. And the reason for that is because we have a C# service on the server that runs, and when users upload content, this service goes out and checks, hey, is there new content? Oh, okay, I got new content. I'm going to encode that through the encoder, and we're using the Temp Encoder because we can have that interaction, but with Expression Encoder 2, they're going to have a complete object model to interact with it on the server. So we'll be able to use the what is the VC1?
VC1, yes.
VC1 codec, which is really where we get the best quality content. And the best quality encoding is with that VC1 content. So content goes up to the server. Our C# job grabs that content, passes it through the encoder. Through an admin page, we can go in, look at the content that's being passed to us, approve it or deny it, and it will send it over to our media server. All we do is make an entry on here, and within hours, we can have content from the end user playing live on our system in the format that we need it to go in. Again, that's something we tried with the video or with the Flash, but you don't get that quality of content. I mean, you see what happens when you upload clips to YouTube, no matter what, quality in, garbage out, as far as what it looks like. So our goal is whatever comes in, put out the best quality we can with this. And channel owners have access to this as well, so channel owners don't even have to make sure that they have the right content. We can actually take a raw, unencoded piece of footage from a channel owner, pass it through the Expression Encoder. It gives us the quality, it gives us the VC1 codec, and so everything we need can happen without anybody ever touching it. So they can upload it, have it on their channel within hours, all through this interaction between the Expression software and the Silverlight player.
Is the encoder running on the Linux machine, or that's on a Windows box?
No,
it's running on a Windows box.
The encoder runs on a Windows box.
Currently, we're using the old Windows Media encoder because the current Expression encoder, you weren't able to, it didn't have a programmable API. You couldn't program to it, but the old one could. So we use that one. But the problem with that one is it doesn't accept, it's very fickle about the type of formats. It doesn't like QuickTime MOV files. So we have to go in and sometimes manually, when users upload those, we have to encode them and get them into the system.
As well, we can't always get the same quality out of it that we've seen with the Expression encoder.
So with 2.0, I think we'll be rocking.
And we're actually very excited about the new IIS 7. We're going to be transitioning from our Linux servers. We're going to be transitioning over to IIS 7 on a test case, and we're going to test out the performance on the IIS 7. And if we can get the same level of performance, we're going to be transitioning our servers over to the Windows IIS 7 servers. Because I guess that's the one disconnect that we have right now, is the fact that they have to upload it to the Linux box, because that's obviously where our website rests. So they upload it to the Linux box. It passes it over to the Windows box to handle all the encoding process, and from there it moves it over to the streaming server. So we're ideally, once we move over to IIS 7, as long as the performance is there, we'll be able to reduce where it has to go, which will help us reduce points of failure. So we can upload it to the server, handle the encoding process, send it over to the streaming server, and be live that much faster.
And by moving over to IIS 7, we'll be able to tap into the .NET framework as well.
So we're very excited with what's going on. I've been very excited this whole weekend for the conference. The fact that we're going, the transition we want to make to IIS 7, as well as I don't know how many of you guys went to it, but the room was packed. I went to the MVC ASP.NET Model View Controller. So what we're actually looking to do, again, if we can get the same level of performance, is the website currently is running on the Zend framework, which is a model view control pattern for PHP. So we're going to run it on a test case, and if we can get that same level of performance, we'll transition our website from the model view controller on PHP over to the ASP.NET model view controller. And I don't know how many of you guys, again, saw the IIS 7 demonstration, but the way the pages were able to seamlessly work together between, he set up a login script and the PHP application, and he was actually able to authenticate from the .NET controller to the PHP pages. So we're excited about making that transition and being able to integrate over time. You know, as we add new features, we add them in .NET, but the end user, they don't, you know, the end user doesn't care what platform they're on. As long as everything works and the content's good. So.
Any other questions we can answer? No? Well.
So we appreciate you guys coming out. Definitely check out the website. We're adding content all the time. There's, you know, a lot of, there's not a ton of it there right now, but we're in the process of now getting all this content over. It's amazing the level of technology difference from what people refer to as old media to the level of technology difference. You know, we basically have to get stuff from them on DVD. Sometimes it's encoded, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's garbage, and we got to send it back and say, no, we got to have better content than that. But you know, so we're adding content daily. Like I said, you're going to see Stars content up there, Damon Dash, P. Diddy, Ice Cube. All of them are going to have their own channels. So you're going to see we're very excited because what we're able to produce with this, all of these celebrities, you know, it's amazing that they actually have that same difficulty with an entry point sometimes as well, sometimes just as much as the small producer does. Mm-hmm. So they actually have all this content that they own the rights to and have no way to distribute.
And no outlet for it, so we're offering them that outlet.
Right. Ice Cube actually owns all of the internet media rights to almost every single piece of content he's ever done. But here he is, no outlet for it. So what we're trying to do is bridge that gap, give them an outlet